Moreno, and distinguished professor at Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Thane, I'll start with you this time. You know, a lot's been made about these superseding indictments. Can you just explain what that is for the people back home and why a special prosecutor felt that it was necessary in this case?
So, Michael, the way the indictments work is that they're essentially read to the defendant, giving him or her notice of what the charges are, and then both sides begin pretrial motions before there's a trial, right? All kinds of things happen before the first day of the trial. But guess what? More charges can be coming, right? That means that the prosecution can add on additional charges and even additional defendants. So they call it a superseding indictment to say, this indictment now supersedes the other one. Forget about the other one. Those charges still stick, and we are adding on. So in this instance, what did they do? They added on a 30-second count dealing with the classified documents, the retention of the documents, withholding of the documents, mishandling of them under the Espionage Act, and they added another defendant. So now there's a third defendant who is the property manager or the maintenance worker at Mar-a-Lago. Right. And they're adding on to the side, not the espionage side, which is the 32 counts of the documents. They're adding on to the obstruction side. So the case has shifted a little from espionage to adding on to the obstruction of justice, in this case, the destruction of evidence.
Yeah, it just seems like it just continues to snowball there. The president has said that if he is sent to prison, that he's still going to run from office from behind bars. So, Amir, do you think that this is a legitimate possibility? Can he do that?
Oh, legally he can do it. I mean, Eugene Debs did it in the 1920s as a socialist. He ran from prison. There's no bar in the Constitution, but getting back to what Thane was saying, what's so interesting about the obstruction point is that it's based on hearsay. It's about this property manager at Mar-a-Lago who apparently told somebody else who spoke to Jack Smith's team that President Trump somehow indicated to him that he wanted to have the video surveillance at Mar-a-Lago, that server wiped clean, a la Hillary Clinton, I guess. But what's missing from the indictment is the context of that statement. He never says Donald Trump told me to do this. He never says we had an agreement to do this, which is necessary in order to establish conspiracy, which is what the count is. He just says that this is what the boss wants. Yeah. And so it's unclear whether this individual is acting independently, whether Donald Trump gave a specific order, whether this person sort of interpreted Donald Trump's musings about, boy, I really wish that this evidence didn't exist, to be a direction to get rid of it. All of the context is missing, and that's the important part. Can Jack Smith prove that count beyond a reasonable doubt? That's the big question, and he has not answered it. In an indictment which has included many, many facts, it is what's known as a speaking indictment. He very conspicuously left out these most important ones.
Yep, very good points there. Thane, you know, there's been a lot of renewed interest, at least by Speaker Kevin McCarthy, about, you know, moving forward with impeachment. I was even surprised he's really increased his rhetoric there. Impeaching possibly the president, Joe Biden. Is there a legal standing to do so at this point? And, you know, do you see this picking up steam?
So, Michael, remember, when it comes to impeachment, it's the House has their own rules and the Senate has their own rules. It's not even a legal proceeding, right? High crimes and misdemeanors, which is, you know, the key charge usually in these cases, doesn't exist under American law. It only applies to federal employees that are going to be removed. So the legal standing is the better way to look at it is there procedural standing? Yeah, of course, the Senate and the House, the Senate does the trial, the House does the impeachment itself. So they have the ability to do that. It's not just for presidents, it could be for federal judges, all federal employees. Mayorkas, right, is an example of impeachment. What I find interesting is all that Mark McCarthy is talking about now is an impeachment inquiry, which is just to look at whether the House should vote to impeach. And here's a little something that I don't think everyone seems to remember. That didn't happen for Donald Trump. They skipped over it both times. Yep. They didn't do the initial inquiry. Nancy Pelosi said, the hell with that. we hate this guy, and we're going straight to the House vote and send it to the Judiciary Committee to conduct its investigations. So right now, we're just, all that's being asked is, let's remember, Congress is in the investigation business. Let's kick things into a little gear and let's see what's there. But there's a lot of pushback even with regard to the inquiry.
You are right. I didn't even remember that as well. So good point there, Thane. Amir, with the Hunter Biden plea deal that fell apart, how do we see this developing going forward? Do you think that there could be a trial?
There very well could be. I mean, the agreement, there's something we've heard a lot about called a diversion, which was essentially had to do with a gun charge that he had, that they weren't going to bring it. They were just going to let that charge disappear. But as the media was reporting it, it only was relevant to a gun charge. In fact, it applied to, under the plea agreement, to all of Hunter Biden's foreign influence peddling. And that is precisely the thing that the FBI had been telling Congress. We can't produce witnesses, we can't produce documents and evidence to you because there's an ongoing investigation. So the judge, Noreika, said, wait a minute, if there's an ongoing investigation, how do you square that with the fact that you're not going to prosecute this guy for anything? How can you be investigating him if you're not going to prosecute him? So they held the government's feet to the fire, and they had no choice except essentially to say, oh, yes, we are still investigating this person. Nobody believes that's actually the truth. As long as that's hanging out there, then it's going to gear towards trial. The other thing that's a problem with that plea agreement was it put the onus on the judge to make the recommendation to actually bring charges against Hunter Biden. It's completely unusual, and the DOJ did it deliberately in order to give itself some deniability from having to prosecute Hunter Biden. They wanted to lay the blame at the judge's feet, which is a violation of separation of powers. So unless they can get that,
we do have to leave it there. I'm sorry, we're running out of time. Sorry, Amir, to cut you off there. I didn't mean to do that, but we have to go out for a hard break now. But Thane Rosenbaum and Amir Benno, thank you both so much.